This meeting is being recorded.
So, hi and welcome to today's Mandarine Academy MOOC 365 Business Partner High-Level Overview. The purpose of this training session and recording is just to give those that are looking to talk about the MOOC Office 365 business to their customers or learn about the value proposition and kind of instill that best practice in both themselves and or members of their sales team. So let's get started. So we're just going to cover very quickly. I'll just get this pointer. We'll go through description of the service. We'll talk about the admin portal. We'll breeze over some of the contract terms and conditions, how to place an order, why you should be selling MOOC Office 365 Business and a unique value proposition and sales support tools. I suppose the MOOC Office 365 Business is Mandarine Academy's flagship solution. The word MOOC stands for Massive Open Online Course. So just to get that one out of the way, because people will often ask what the word MOOC means, and it comes from a widely recognized concept of open education. And you'll see that the platform blends self-paced and human interactive learning. So both those aspects are blended into the MOOC Office 365 solution. So that's a little background on Mandarine Academy. And then what we'll do is we'll spend a small bit of time on the PPT, knowing that I can send this to you and or you'll have it to hand, so I won't labor any of the points here, but we'll go through some of the main themes of the platform so that you know them and you can talk about them with a customer. And indeed, we'll go straight into the platform and we'll validate each of these concepts with a live visual element. So one of the key elements that the platform provides, just take a step back. So what the MOOC Office 365 Business is in a virtual sense, it's an Office 365 library. So much like any library, you walk in and there are books everywhere. What we're trying to do is give people the right books they need on the different workloads in modern workplace so that they can do what they need to improve both their job functions, maybe there's team functions, maybe it's external requirements. Because Office 365 is so big, we've spread this out into different formats, and we've also done that quite deliberately because people like to learn at different times and at different speeds, and they have different needs. So it's an adaptable learning platform, and that's important to recognize because we're not providing this one-size-fits-all. Okay, so the theme-based learning is very simple. It's that we've put the courses in a sequential order so that you start from A, you go to B, and you go to C, and then you sort of graduate from that theme-based learning path. And we'll look at those learning paths in a minute. The other key element is that there's over 50 hours of live learning within the platform. So for any given course, the user can do self-paced learning, or they can click on the drop-down menu that we'll see with live training sessions and pick a time, goes into their calendar, and just like we're almost doing today, they'll have an interactive session with a trainer who they can ask questions to on that workload, which is just like a classroom environment, but it's done via web. And so that's really unique. We're giving people the human learning and the digital learning combined. And if you didn't take anything else away from the session, that would be probably one of the key USPs or unique selling propositions. So there's also a unique piece in the platform, and we'll see it. There's a social network. So we've actually built Yammer into the platform. Now, whether the customer uses Yammer on their end or not isn't that significant, but we've already built in social, which means between the human learning and the self-paced digital learning, there's a good group of people that like to chat and ask questions and have somebody mediate those questions. So there's a community manager built into the platform. So anything that they're struggling with or any questions they have, they can put a question in chat or indeed see other people's questions. So there's a social aspect to the platform that's important. And there's built-in gamification. So if I want to make my learning a bit more fun, more interesting, I can look at the points and badges system built into the platform. So as a user, I have a dashboard, and we'll see this, that I can see how I'm progressing on a course or a learning path, and it'll encourage me to kind of continue. So if I'm starting to see my points accumulate towards my bronze badge, it'll encourage me to continue towards my silver. and up into my gold. And then for organizations that are promoting this within their company, it's a nice way to promote the learning to their users and say, look, we'd like everybody to have a stretch goal of at least achieving bronze in the next 4 weeks, and then silver on modern workplace. So there's all these sort of opportunities for the organization and the end user to kind of make the learning fun. Now, the use case videos, which we'll see in a minute, are there at the beginning because they're sort of a day in the life of various workloads, and they give you an idea of what best practice looks like, so that before you sort of indulge looking at a course or a video or a learning path, there's a good few people that'll say, well, I don't even know what best practice with Teams looks like, or Windows 10, or OneDrive. So they can look at these use cases, and there's over 36 of them. They're about 3 minutes long, and they can sort of get an idea of where they want to steer their learning. The video tutorials, there's over 700 of these, and they are sort of deep dive, short, nugget-sized videos into each of the workloads. You know, it's a perfect solution for somebody that has maybe a 10, 15-minute coffee break, and they're getting going with this platform. They link in, they look at OneDrive, they can fit in 3 videos and learn quite a bit of information in a short period of time. And the video tutorials and the use cases are embedded into the learning path. So they all sort of start to cross-function one another. And then within the platform, there's AI. It's Microsoft AI's solution, and the platform is built in Azure. So basically what the platform is always trying to do is index content for users so that they get the most relevant content, and it keeps them engaged and interested. So if you looked at Skype and OneDrive and SharePoint, you might want to look at Teams, because those 3 sort of relate. So at a very simplistic level, it's trying to feed the next bit of content it thinks the user would like to learn. But at a deeper level, it's trying to make sure that the user always has the right information. And then there's a managing and reporting console, which we'll finish on. So these are the key elements of the platform. Now we'll see the live management reporting dashboard, but it is quite straightforward. It shows shows the company what's going on. So who's doing what courses. They can pull off a report, and they can see what's happening. And it's also interesting for the partner because it offers a rich opportunity to speak to the customers about what's happening with their Office 365 adoption. So we'll go into a live view of these. So I'll skip over this slide. Now, it's a very straightforward model. It's bought through Stream One, and it's per user, per license at £2 per user, and sold to the customer for £3 per user per month. So it allows the customer to roll over, if you will, on a monthly basis their learning, and it gives them a sort of an easy glide path to bundling this in with other offers from the reseller, and we'll come back to this towards the end. So this is just, I'll just put all of them, sorry, I'll go back. This is just to kind of walk you through the Stream One process. So there's an order made from the reseller. It goes to Tech Data. We then receive that order, and then 2 emails are sent to one to the reseller and one to the customer admin. And then the licenses are then placed in the customer's admin portal, and then the customer allocates those licenses to their user. So it's pretty straightforward. And then the reverse process, the customer removes the licenses, and the termination request comes through to the reseller, which then goes to Tech Data, and then it's then fulfilled by ourselves. So it's pretty much a reverse of the order process. You'll get this slide, but this is just the order process, which was detailed on the previous slide. So we'll skip over this one. Why sell MOOC Office 365 Business? There's a lot of information in this slide, but basically there are some key points that I think a lot of the resellers will already have had in mind when they look at this presentation. But basically 50% of the time is spent in SMEs with collaborative working, increased employee productivity. All the kind of standard fare is there. But for the reseller, really, it's to bring more value and differentiate themselves from their competitors, and maintain or increase income, and you can capture, retain your install base. So And it's also critically part of Microsoft FY19 strategy. So there's several good reasons, and also it just makes sense to provide users with an adoption mechanism to ensure that they use the licenses that have been sold to them. Now, how to sell the solution? Well, this is kind of what we're doing right now. Package this in with the licensing, go after customers that you've already sold licenses to, upsell, cross-sell. There's numerous ways that you can sort of present this solution, and indeed we'll cover that now. This is quite a busy slide, but just to kind of simplify it, if our Office 365, MOOC Office 365 business is a library, and there were sort of different offers with Office 365, we're just helping people kind of graduate their knowledge base. So if the first floor of the library is your basic Office 365 business, well, the next floor is your Office 365 Premium. But what's interesting is all the content, the learning content is there. So you can get people on this sort of ladder, if you will, by facilitating them with access to the platform, and then it helps them gain interest in the premium if they're on the Office 365 business, because they'll have access to the learning within the premium license. And indeed, they'll have access to the Windows 10 learning. So you're providing them with a whole learning environment, and you can encourage them to take those steps up the ladder or go to the next floor in their learning, and indeed increase your license sale and revenue. Couple of points on competitors. So there are other competitors out there, but there isn't really anyone doing anything similar to what we're doing based on the models that we've put together. So that was a bit of a whirlwind tour in the PPT. I'm going to close that and then just go into the live platform so that you can see what that looks like. So here at the top of the live platform, we have the opportunity to put the resellers banner. So the first thing we'll ask you is to give us a JPEG or a GIF of your logo, and then we'll place it in here. And then you'll have your banner at the top of the platform whenever your customers log on, which is a key part of the branding initiative within the platform. As we go down, so this makes it a lot easier to show you the platform, because the PPTs sort of enabled this. So the use case scenarios, like I said, they're best practice use of the various workloads together in different roles, different scenarios. And then the video tutorials are the deep dive into each of the solutions. I spoke about the Yammer community group, which is here. So tricks and tips and information on the right. And then we start to look at the courses. There's over 50 of these on all the different workloads. And then we have the learning paths, which is basically aggregating all the use cases, all the videos, all the courses into a streamed process. So just keeping time in mind, I'll go into the learning paths, and we'll then complete the demo with the admin platform. So when I go into the learning paths, I'm sort of hoping that you already have an idea what the customer's needs might be in Office 365. So if they're focused on Teams, well, then you'll pick the Teams learning path, and then you'll speak to them about how their users can access the Teams content. If, for example, their focus is on OneDrive, well, you'll focus on the learning paths that have OneDrive in them. So if we pick on Discover Office 365 use cases, and by the way, before I click in here, some of you may have noticed that in the top right, it says free and business. So what the free allows you to do is provide an opportunity for those that might be a little reluctant to put all their users onto the platform, but they shouldn't, because they can buy it monthly and they can cancel. But if you needed to, there's a free option within the platform which gives people a kind of no strings attached access. So let's just access the free Discover Office 365 use case, which is a real bonus because they're getting access to the platform with all this content. So it's really got a nice layout, nice UX. I can see all the different courses laid out. So I do course 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. What are the associated products? So now it's clear to me that I clicked on OneDrive. There it is inside the associated products. I look at the first course, Communicate with Office 365. I click in here. And this UX is the same for all the courses. So you get a description of the course. You can see what you're going to learn in the course. And then if you think back to what I said at the very beginning, all these courses have a live instructor element. So the next course here is on March 28th at 9 a.m. But if I can't make that course because I'm doing something else, I can click and see that there's another course. The same course is available rather on April 10th and April 26th. So there's huge value in the fact that there's a sort of human waiting to train them on this workload at a time that's convenient to them, which you just can't find anywhere else. And so they can plan it into their calendar and see, and rather if I click on register, it'll send me an email. It'll then invite me to put that a link into my calendar, and then it'll remind me 15 minutes before that I have a live training session. The live training session is really unique. The trainer is there to cover what the workload does. It's an interactive session, so they'll be doing live and PPT demonstration, very similar to what I'm doing now, and they'll encourage the user to not be passive on the live training session. They'll ask questions. And that's all about live human learning, and that's all part of the value of this platform. We retain much more when we're in a live interactive session with a human being than in a self-paced learning environment. But it's blended on this platform, so it's there to kind of remind people again, this is not just a digital platform. Okay, so that's the live training calendar window. I come down here, I can see all the tags for this course, and then there are the use cases associated to this course, which I can take also, and then the videos. And I just wanted to finish by logging in. So all of the login mechanism to the platform is done through SSO, or single sign-on authentication with Office 365. So I click here, and that just means the whole platform is secure. It makes it easier. People don't have to remember passwords, and it's much easier for everybody to manage. So right away, the platform recognizes me through my Office 365, and then you'll see my name appears up here. It knows where I am in terms of points on this course. I can see how many points this course will provide me to get to all full points. And then I can see how much I get for looking at the use case videos and then the video tutorials. What's interesting here is you'll get 1,500 points for joining a live training session, and you'll get 94 points for use cases. So what we're trying to say without saying it is that there's an overwhelming value to the live human training, although coupled with the digital training, you'll eventually get to your silver and your gold badges. So that's how the gamification works. And then once I'm logged into the platform, I can click back underneath my menu. I can look at my dashboard. And this is all part of the sort of user experience that's now built into the platform. So we're just going to take a quick peek at what that looks like. So the dashboard allows me to see what courses I've taken, what learning paths I'm on, what sessions I've registered for, and indeed, if I've shared socially what courses I've taken, I might want to do that because I'm an ambassador within my group, and I want to be an example or a role model to others on what courses they should take. So there's an element of those that come first and sharing. So if I just take a look at my courses, I can see how far I am along different courses that I've started. And then when I look at learning paths, it's really interesting because I can see that I've started on a Windows 10 course, and I've also started on a Skype learning path and Discover Office 365. And what's interesting is I may have only started one learning path, but because each of the courses are interwoven, I'm actually starting on another learning path. So the platform dashboard actually shows you areas that you might want to continue your learning in, which is really kind of neat because you may have thought, look, I only needed Windows 10 learning, but inadvertently you started to discover Teams learning or Skype learning. So the platform encourages you to keep learning, which is all part of the kind of holistic journey the reseller is trying to provide to its users and say, look, Office 365 is vast. There's a lot to learn. You have a very targeted requirement and need with maybe OneDrive and SharePoint, but those two might lend to some interest you might have in Teams. So it's all about sort of dynamic learning and suggesting new learning. So that's what the AI index is also doing. It's recommending what courses I'd be interested in based on what learning paths I've started. So there's a whole sort of end user dashboard feature. And then just to finish, there's, so the customer and the have an portal, so they'll be able to see what, how many subscriptions have been licensed per user, how many views, what are the top courses, badges obtained, usage, and then I can also go to reporting, and then I can export the reporting, and I'll get a spreadsheet with the number of users that have accessed the platform, what courses they've taken, what learning paths they've taken, what badges they've achieved. So I have the ability to look at what's happening within the platform through my virtual admin dashboard. And I think that just about covers everything I wanted to say in a high-level overview. So you got, you know, the PPT that you'll be able to reference because it'll be supporting the live training element. The last kind of housekeeping items I would mention is when you're speaking to Tech Data and you're getting started with this, I'd encourage you to get a license for yourself. That's part of the program. I'd encourage you to log in. I'd encourage you to take a couple of courses, look at a couple of videos, look at the dashboard reporting. In some, just become comfortable doing more or less what I've just done today, because when your customer comes to deciding whether they're going to invest in the learning platform, how comfortable you are talking about it will have a huge factor in their sort of level of comfort. And hopefully your ability to kind of talk about all the various different things that were mentioned today. So that's a high-level overview of the platform. I hope you found it informative and interesting, and I hope it supports you with you know, becoming more end-user adoption savvy with your customers, and indeed adding this kind of value-add solution to your licensed Office 365 sale. So thanks, Molly, for making this recording, and we look forward to speaking with you soon.